If you wake up in the morning and your head feels heavy before the day has even begun, if your heart sometimes flutters in a way that makes you pause and press your hand to your chest, if you have been told your blood pressure is too high and you have tried to eat less salt and rest more, and still something does not feel right, then your body may be asking for something, not a medicine, not a difficult change, something very small, something most doctors do not think to check. And most people live for years, sometimes decades, without knowing it is missing. Today, I want to sit with you and talk about one mineral that the heart quietly depends on, a mineral that modern life has quietly taken away from us. And I want to show you how gently, very gently, you can begin to give it back. By the time we reach the end of this video, you will understand what this mineral does inside your body. You will recognize the small signs that tell you it may be low. You will know which simple foods can begin to restore it, and you will have 5 gentle habits, things you can begin today or even tonight that ask nothing difficult of you. And the last of these, the one I have saved for the very end, is a small evening ritual I began at the age of 73. I was skeptical at first. I am a monk. I have always been humble about my expectations, but something changed, and it changed quietly, the way all good things do. Stay with me until the end. I will share it with you then. I am Master Ming. I have spent 86 years learning, mostly by making mistakes and watching others make theirs. If these words bring you some peace, I am glad of the company. And if you wish to continue this journey with me, you are welcome to subscribe. There is no pressure, only an open door. The first thing I want to share is this. In Chinese medicine, we do not think of high blood pressure as simply a problem of too much tension, too much sodium, too much force pushing through the vessels. We also think of it as a problem of too little nourishment reaching the walls of the vessels, too little softness, too little flow. Imagine a river in the dry season. In the full rains, a river moves easily. Its banks are soft and yielding. The water finds its way without effort. But in the dry season, the riverbed hardens. The water must push harder to move through. This is what can happen inside the body when certain minerals are missing. The vessels, which should be soft and responsive, become stiff, and the heart must work harder. Not because it is broken, but because it is not being fed what it needs. In classical Chinese medicine, this kind of imbalance is called a depletion of yin, a dryness, a lack of what softens and nourishes. And one of the things that nourishes, more than we often realize, is potassium. This is where Western science and Eastern wisdom meet quietly, without argument. Potassium is what keeps the walls of blood vessels soft and relaxed. It is what allows the heart to beat in its proper rhythm. It is what helps the kidneys do their work, filtering, balancing, releasing what does not belong. And when potassium is low, all of these things become a little harder. The vessels tighten, the heart strains, the kidneys hold on to more sodium than they should, and blood pressure rises, not because the body is failing, but because it is asking. The second thing I want you to understand is how quietly this happens. Many years ago, I had a young student, not so young, perhaps 40 years old, which feels young to me now. He was careful about his health. He ate very little meat. He avoided fried food, but he ate mostly white rice, white bread, noodles, packaged soups. He thought he was being sensible. One winter, he came to me with swollen ankles. His legs felt heavy by the end of the day. He would wake in the night with cramps in his calves that made him gasp. And his doctor told him his blood pressure had climbed. He was confused. He said, "I eat so little salt." And this is the misunderstanding many of us carry. We think high blood pressure comes only from eating too much sodium. And sodium does matter, yes. But the deeper story is about balance. Sodium and potassium work together inside every cell of your body. They are partners, like two sides of a scale. Sodium draws water in, potassium pushes excess water out, sodium tightens, potassium releases. When this balance is disturbed, when we have too much sodium and too little potassium, the scale tips, and the pressure inside the blood vessels rises. My student was not eating too much salt, but he was eating almost no potassium, no leafy greens, no beans, no sweet potato. His diet was pale and empty of the things that balance. We changed that slowly, very slowly, over many months, and the swelling eased. The cramps grew less. His blood pressure, tracked by his doctor, began to soften. He did not stop his medication. His doctor guided that, but something shifted because the body had been given what it was asking for. Now, the third thing, and this is where I ask you to listen carefully to yourself. Many of the signs of low potassium are signs we dismiss. We say, "I'm getting older." We say, "This is just how life is now." And sometimes that is true. Age brings change. But sometimes the body is speaking, and we have decided it is only complaining. I think of an elderly woman I knew many years ago, a neighbor of my teacher, who lived in a small village in the mountains. She was in her late 70s, sharp-minded, but tired. Not the tiredness that sleep fixes, the deep tiredness that lives in the muscles. She moved slowly, not because her joints ached, though they did, but because lifting her own arms felt like a great effort. She had a heaviness around her heart that she could not name. Some mornings, her heartbeat felt uneven, a flutter, a skip. She had been told this was her age. She had been told to rest, but no one had asked what she was eating. She lived alone and ate simply, very simply, mostly congee, a little pickled vegetable, occasionally an egg. Her diet had almost no potassium. When this was changed, when her granddaughter began cooking for her and added sweet potato, spinach, a little bean soup, she said within a few weeks that the heaviness had lifted. Not completely, she was old, and old bodies carry much, but there was a lightness she had not expected. She told her granddaughter, "I thought this was just old age," but it was hunger, a hunger I did not know I had. So I ask you now, gently, with no judgment at all, do any of these feel familiar? Muscle cramps that come, especially at night, a tiredness that does not lift after sleep, a heartbeat that sometimes feels irregular or fluttery, a heaviness in the legs, constipation that has become a quiet companion. These are not signs of weakness. These are the body's voice. And when we learn to hear it, we can begin to respond. If you recognize these in yourself, please do speak with your doctor, especially if you take medication for your heart or kidneys, because potassium levels need to be monitored carefully in those situations. But for many people watching this today, these symptoms come not from disease, but from simple, quiet depletion. Before I continue, let me ask you something. When did you last feel truly light, not tired, and trying to push through it? not resting because you had no choice, but genuinely, quietly light, the way you might feel after a long walk in cool air when everything in the body has moved and settled. Hold that question for a moment, because what I am sharing today is not just about blood pressure numbers. It is about returning the body to something it already knows how to do if we give it what it needs. And the ritual I promised you, the one I will share at the end, is about exactly that, a very small act of care before the end of the day that can change the quality of a night's rest and the feeling of the morning after. Stay with me. We are almost there. The fourth thing I want to share, and this brings me much warmth, is food. Because this is not about supplements, if we can help it. This is not about capsules and powders. This is about what our grandmothers already knew. In China, for centuries, we have eaten foods that quietly kept the heart balanced, not because we understood potassium, but because we understood harmony. We understood that the body needs variety, that the table should have color, that a meal built only of white and pale things is a meal missing something essential. Let me tell you what I eat. I'm 86 years old. Every morning, I have a small bowl of congee, but into it, I stir spinach, or sometimes I add a piece of sweet potato cooked soft. At midday, I eat mung bean soup, sometimes white bean soup, sometimes lotus root, braised gently. In the evening, I eat whatever is simple, a little cooked green vegetable, some tofu, sometimes a small banana. I have eaten like this for most of my adult life, not because someone told me to, but because it felt right. It felt like what the body asked for. Now I understand, in the language of science, why. Bananas, yes, everyone knows this one. A medium banana carries a quiet and steady amount of potassium, easy to digest, gentle on old stomachs. Sweet potato, one of the most generous foods I know. One medium sweet potato gives more potassium than a banana, and it is soft, warming, easy to prepare. Spinach and other dark leafy greens, these are small but powerful. A handful cooked down into soup gives the body much more than it appears to from the outside. White beans, black beans, mung beans, beans are ancient medicine. They carry potassium, fiber, protein. They keep blood sugar steady. They feed the kidneys. We have known this in China for a very long time. Lotus root, not always easy to find in every country, but if you can find it, eat it. Braised or in soup, it is cooling, nourishing, and carries goodness into the blood. Winter melon, light, calming, excellent in summer or when the body feels overheated. A wonderful soup vegetable. Dried dates, not the very sweet ones eaten as candy, but the small red Chinese dates, jujubes, used in soups and teas. They nourish the blood and carry gentle minerals. Avocado, if you enjoy it, this too has become part of many diets now, and the body welcomes it. Tomatoes, cooked. Cooking them releases more of their goodness. I do not ask you to eat all of these at once. I ask you only to add one. Just one, starting today. Perhaps tomorrow, you boil a sweet potato. Perhaps the day after, you put a handful of spinach into your soup. Small additions, small steps, the body will notice. One important caution, and I say this with care. If you take medication for your kidneys or certain heart medications, including some diuretics and ACE inhibitors, your doctor may want to monitor your potassium levels before you make large changes to your diet. For most healthy older people, eating more potassium-rich whole foods is very safe. But if you have kidney disease, please check first. This is not fear, this is wisdom. The fifth thing, and this one is often overlooked, is that potassium does not work alone. Even if we eat the right foods, there are habits that quietly drain potassium from the body, and habits that help the body hold on to it. Think of bamboo in the wind. Bamboo does not stand rigid against the storm. It bends, it yields, it returns to itself. The body is like this. When we live rigidly, under constant tension, eating harshly, moving too little, we lose things we cannot easily replace. Stress, for one, drives the body to flush potassium more quickly. The stress hormones, cortisol especially, tell the kidneys to let go of potassium as part of the fight or flight response. So a body under constant worry is a body quietly emptying itself of this mineral. This is why, in Chinese medicine, we have always said that peace is not a luxury. Peace is medicine and gentle movement. I'm 86 years old. I do not run, but every morning I'll walk slowly for perhaps 20 minutes, not to burn calories, not to train, but because movement helps everything circulate, minerals, fluids, energy. Even 10 minutes outside, walking slowly, is better than none. If walking is difficult for you, then gentle stretching indoors, or simply standing and shifting your weight side to side for a few minutes. The body wants to move. It does not want to be still for too long. Drinking enough water also matters here. When we are dehydrated, the balance of minerals in the blood shifts. The kidneys try to compensate, and sometimes potassium is lost in the process. Warm water is kind to older bodies. A cup of warm water in the morning. Before anything else, before tea even, just warm water. Let the body wake slowly, let it be welcomed into the day gently, and reducing processed, salty food, not eliminating it with great force and willpower, but simply crowding it out. When the table has sweet potato and bean soup and warm spinach, there is less room for the packaged things, not by punishment, by abundance. And now, what I promised you, the ritual I began at 73. I want to tell you honestly how it happened. I was not sleeping well. I am a monk, and I have meditated for 60 years, and still I was not sleeping well. I would lie down and my mind would circle. My legs felt restless. My heart felt slightly unsettled in a way I could not name. A very old friend, a physician from Shanghai, who had known me since we were both young men, came to visit. He looked at me carefully, the way only old friends can. He said, "Ming, when did you last eat a real evening meal? Not meditation food, not crackers and tea, a proper meal with vegetables and broth." I said, "I eat simply. I have always eaten simply." He said, "Simplicity is not the same as nourishment." And he went into my small kitchen and made something very plain. He boiled water. Into it, he put a small sweet potato cut into pieces, a handful of spinach, a few slices of carrot, a little ginger, a pinch of salt, very little. He let it simmer for perhaps 20 minutes. Then he poured it into a bowl and brought it to me. And we sat in the evening and I drank it. It was nothing remarkable, warm, slightly sweet from the potato, clean from the ginger. But that night, I slept. Not immediately. I am not telling you it was magic, but the restlessness in my legs eased. The unsettled feeling in my chest softened. I woke the next morning, not with a heavy head, but with something lighter. I began making this broth every few evenings after that. And over the weeks, I noticed quietly, without announcement, that my nights had changed. What my friend understood, which I did not know at the time, was this: the evening hours are when the body does its repair work, and potassium plays a role in that work. It supports the relaxation of muscle walls, including the heart. It helps regulate the electrical signals that keep the heart beating steadily through the night. When we eat a gentle potassium rich meal in the evening, not heavy, not rich, but nourishing, we are giving the body what it needs for the hours of darkness. We are, in a way, stocking the kitchen before the long night's work begins. The recipe is simple. I will say it slowly so you can remember it. You need 1 small sweet potato or half a large one, a handful of fresh spinach or frozen spinach works too, a small piece of fresh ginger about the size of your thumb, a carrot sliced, optional, a few white beans, already cooked or from a can, rinsed, optional, 1 dried jujube date, for a little sweetness. You cover these with water, perhaps 4 to 5 cups. You bring it to a gentle boil, then lower to a simmer. You let it simmer for 20 minutes. You strain it if you wish, or simply ladle out the broth and eat the vegetables too. You drink it warm, slowly, as if you are drinking the evening itself. You do not rush. You sit with it. Perhaps you do not look at a screen while you drink it. Perhaps you let the evening be what it once was, quiet and yours. This is not a cure. I will never tell you anything is a cure. But this small act of care, taking 20 minutes in the evening to nourish your body with something warm and gentle, is a message you send to yourself. It says, I am worth tending to. It says, I am not too old for gentleness. It says, even at this hour, even at this age, I am still caring for this body, and this body is still worth caring for. This is how you give your body permission to rest. My friend, we have covered much ground today, but I do not want you to feel burdened by it. You do not need to do all of this at once. You do not need to remake your entire life by tomorrow. I am 86. I have learned that the quiet changes are the lasting ones. A river does not move a mountain in a single afternoon. But over years, over patient, steady years, water shapes stone. What I hope you leave with today is this: high blood pressure is not simply a sign that something is wrong with you. Sometimes it is a sign that the body is asking for something it has not been given. And potassium, this quiet, humble mineral, may be part of what your body has been missing. More green vegetables, more sweet potato and beans, a little less of the salty packaged things, warm water in the morning, gentle movement, an evening broth made slowly, eaten with care. These are not heroic acts. They are small tendernesses. And small tendernesses, repeated day after day, become a life in which the body feels heard, a life in which the heart, the physical heart, and the other kind is given room to settle. High blood pressure carries worry. I know this. I have spoken with many people who carry this diagnosis like a stone in their chest. But I want you to know that worry itself raises pressure. And so, the most important thing I can offer you, more than any food, any habit, any recipe, is this: you are not broken. You are not failing. You are an old body that has carried you faithfully for many decades, and it is still asking you for partnership. It still wants to work with you. Meet it with kindness. Meet it with patience. Meet it the way you would meet a very old and loyal friend who has had a hard season. Not with force, with care. May your evenings be quiet may your mornings be a little lighter. May you tend to yourself the way you would tend something you love. I will see you in the next video. If any of what I shared today touched you, I would love to hear from you. Tell me below, which of these will you try first? Or perhaps there is already one food on this list that you love and eat often. Tell me what it is. I always enjoy learning what is on your table. And if you wish to continue this journey, you are welcome to subscribe. There is no pressure, only an open door and warm company. Next time, I want to talk about something that many people over 60 experience, a feeling of coldness in the hands and feet. Even in warm weather, even after a good meal, most people believe this is simply poor circulation and leave it at that. But the body, as always, is saying something more specific. I will share what that is and what 3 very simple things can help. I hope to see you there.